So you know how this goes, right? Question everything. You should. And remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Let's get to it.
You guys, for the past almost 3 years, I have been living in my car. I said it. Oh my God, it's out. I've been living in my car. Oh my gosh. If you remember, if you guys were with me, in 2020, I did like 105,000 interviews. And in the interim, I was living with my parents in Vegas. And that was wonderful until it wasn't. I love my mom, but she became very angry. And a lot of her anger she was taking out on me, and I was her target all the time. And I was like, I can't deal with this. Like, I respect her too much. I didn't understand it. I still don't. And I was sleeping in my car for maybe about a month in Vegas. And then the guy that was co-managing me at the time was living in LA. And he said, you need to come back to LA. I don't have a lot of room, but I'll make room for you. And then when I got to his place, he actually didn't have room for me. So it turned into, okay, well, I'm going to put you in a hotel for the night. And that one night turned into 8 months. Oh my God, you guys. I was like, no, this is unacceptable. I have been researching car life. There's a whole community of people that live in their cars, and a whole community of people that live in their RVs, and a whole community of people that live in vans. Van life, car life, RV life. And I loved what I was seeing. I just thought, wow, these people, I can do that. I can do this, I think. And I ended up in my car, and it's been, like I said, 3 years. I think I'm going to go and sleep in my car. I think I'm going to live in my car. I've been researching it, and I know I can do this. And she's like, yeah, you can. She was gung-ho, and I was like, okay. So I went up to Malibu. You know, Malibu is the place where you can take Highway 1 all the way from New York, literally. And it's kind of the place where everybody stops along the way when they're coming from the East Coast, and they're heading west, to California, to make their dreams come true, to start a new life. Guys, this is not like, oh my God, poor Dawn. She's living in her car, and it's terrible. Oh, what was me? It's not that. It's not like I said, I'm learning about who I am. I'm learning myself as a person, as a woman. And I didn't think if you would have said to me while I was in Vogue, you're going to be living in your car one day, I'd be like, huh? No, I'm always going to have an apartment. I can't live in my car. How can I do that? I won't be able to live in my car. We say that we can't do certain things before we even know we're capable. Nisa keeps telling me that when people find out, when the fans hear that you're living in your car, they're going to be so proud of you, because I am documenting this whole adventure. It's an adventure, you guys. It's a journey, and I've been documenting it and filming myself doing certain things.
Now, see, the headline got me because I came into this expecting to be like, wow, here we are with another artist who probably got robbed by the music industry. No, don't have no masters or anything like that. They don't have control of their masters. They're being robbed, taken advantage of, and now they're down on their luck. I came into this with that thought, ready to attack. But listening to her, you clearly see that she's happy. She's found peace. This is something she wants to do. And I can't do nothing but respect that. Respect that. If you're doing, mad hungry, if y'all heard that. If you're doing something that you want to do and you love to do, who cares what everybody else feels you should be doing with your life? You're not living for them. But yeah, I came into this, I was ready to respond, attack, but she clearly is doing what she wants to do. And I've done videos on that whole living in your car. Now, the videos I've done, I'll be honest with you, people basically came out and said it ruined their life, especially the children and the teenagers and stuff like that. It scarred them. But an adult saying this is what they want to do, then absolutely, go for it. We rooting for you.
am the box demon. I am the box demon. I believe this box is a gift for you.
People, I ain't got time for this. I and it says you did this up north. You do this in the South, I promise you, you'll be met with something that sounds like, and that's your warning to start running when you hear that. Like, why are you just? Yeah. These are the wrong times. People are already nervous because people are losing their jobs and they thinking people are going to start going and robbing people and doing different things, and things are going to get out of control, and people are already have that mindset, so they're on edge. So a random person with a paper plate mask on come into my house, I wouldn't play like that. Y'all better chill quickly.
We have breaking news happening right now at Loma Linda Children's Hospital, specifically the ER area. You can see a large response from law enforcement. A shooting situation might be happening. Let's go to Air 7 and Chris Christie for all the details. Chris?
That's right, Colleen. There are hundreds of law enforcement officers now surrounding Loma Linda Hospital after a report of an armed gunman inside of the hospital. There is a ton of law enforcement smothering this entire area, and we understand that there are room-to-room searches taking place inside the facility. There are several wings to Loma Linda University Medical Center, including a children's hospital. The children's hospital, I understand, has been cleared. They are still searching the rest of the medical center, which is a very, very large complex along Prospect Avenue here, where there are no less than 200 officers surrounding this entire facility. It is basically black and white vehicles, undercover officers from a number of different agencies for as far as the eye can see in all directions around this entire hospital.
We have breaking news happening.
I ain't gonna lie. That's the type of response I want to see when a hospital has a children's hospital inside of it. That's the type. Like, we haven't seen a response like that since the alien situation with the mall down in Florida. Think about it. That's the last time I've seen a response like that. That's what I want to see, though, when children or anybody's involved, but especially children or the elderly. Oh yeah, show up and show out.
I think without the Department of Ed, there's a lot of America, especially rural America, where kids aren't really going to have a chance to break out of poverty. Title I is one of the things that this Department of Education administers, and they level the playing field. I have seen it with children, and I am very, very angry about this.
You know, I've been retired a few years. I can't imagine the trauma and the stress I would be, we teachers live paycheck to paycheck, and just be told tomorrow, the funding is cut off. How does the community deal with suddenly, a lot of teachers that are not able to support their families?
I mean, I'm concerned about school lunches. I believe that every child should be able to eat healthy and filling food throughout the day. If school lunch programs get cut, I'm extremely concerned about that.
My husband was kidnapped from our home, and it's shameful that the United States government continues to hold him because he stood for the rights and lives of his people. I demand his immediate release and return to our family. His disappearance has devastated our lives. Every day without him is filled with uncertainty, not just for me, but for our entire family and community. Our loved ones are struggling with the pain and fear of his sudden absence. And yet, we are not alone. So many who know and love Mahmoud have come together, refusing to stay silent. Their support is a testament to his character and to the deep injustice of what is being done to him. Thank you.
Okay, so we live in Utah, and I love it here, but we moved here about 8 months ago, from Vegas, and it's been amazing. However, my husband and my son, he's 12, he's almost 13, they have noticed that there has been a weird little gnome. I'm going to sound freaking crazy for saying this. There's a weird little gnome in our backyard that just apparently runs back and forth and up the things. And I'm like, I have not seen this. And it is weird. So we've done some research, and apparently this is not new. I call it a gnome. I don't really know what it's called. It's like a little person, like a little, like 2 feet maybe. And they've seen it like a few times. I'm not, I guess, apparently in tune to see it, so I haven't seen it. But my husband said, like, oh, they like little shiny things, and they like soccer balls and little basketballs and stuff like that. And I'm like, cool. So we have decided to sounds so stupid. We have decided to put out like some pennies, like little shiny pennies for them, and like a tiny little basketball to see if they'll move it or if they'll like love it. And we shall see. I will show you. Okay, so there's our basketball. Has not moved since I put it out there. Here's our shiny little pennies, which are still there, but obviously it's rained for the past few days, so maybe little man hasn't come out. I don't know. I will keep you updated when he decides, he, she, whatever, they decide to come out and play. But my husband said that he saw it the first time when he was out here barbecuing. He saw it running up the wall of our neighbors. And then my son saw it just like right out here. And I'm like, what is going on? What dimension did we fall into that this is an actual thing?
See, that's the question I was going to ask right there. What timeline are they on? I don't want to go to that one where y'all seeing little gnomes running around and could be inside your house or doing nah. I definitely don't want to be on the timeline I'm on right now with everything going on, but I definitely don't want to go to that one. Is there some way to choose which timeline you could get on? Is there a way to pay money? What can we do? Because yeah, that one there, I don't know, man. Maybe it's because of some of the horror movies I watched growing up. And this one wasn't really much a horror, but it kind of was. Remember Tales from the Crypt? And then remember Tales from the Hood? Like, that little scene where all those little... Yeah, that's the first thing I be thinking of, man. Nah, bro. I can't do it. I can't do it, man. And I ain't sitting here saying they crazy or nothing like that. We've seen some crazy things happen this year. So calling somebody crazy for something weird they've seen, you're more crazy than they are.
I don't know. Tell me what you think.
There's a long-term side effect of measles that most people might not know about, and it's called immune amnesia. So normally, when we get sick with viruses or bacteria, our immune system actually takes some time to learn how to fight them. And once it figures it out, our immune system can actually form memories that can recognize and respond to these viruses or bacteria should we encounter them again. But guys, measles actually targets cells that have those memories, destroying them and wiping out some of our built-up immunity in the process.
Other infections, other viral infections can come on board because their immune system has really forgotten how to protect them against these other pathogens.
And it can affect anyone who gets measles, some harder than others, and it takes a few years to build that immunity back. There's a long-term side effect of measles.
See, this is why it's scary for kids who really haven't built up, armored up their immune system, you know? So the fact that this thing is making a comeback so strong is scary. And we've been hearing it take place a lot out in Texas. Matter of fact, I think that's the only place I've really heard this kind of running rampant right now. It's there, but they're saying it's starting to spread, starting to slowly spread throughout the U.S. So y'all take precautions.
Do you ever feel like you're too old for a slushie? You probably aren't. Researchers have said that children should avoid slushies after several children ended up in hospital after drinking one. Researchers looked at 21 cases of 2 to 7-year-olds in the UK and Ireland who needed A&E treatment after drinking a slushie. Most lost consciousness, 4 needed brain scans, and 1 had a seizure. Each child recovered and was discharged from hospital, but were told to avoid the popular cold drinks in the future. Researchers say that the drinks, which were designed to appeal to children, can make them very ill, and that children should avoid slushies until they're at least 8 years old. That's because most contain the naturally occurring sweetener glycerol instead of sugar, to stop them freezing solid, giving them the slushie effect. If you drink a slushie too quickly, glycerol intoxication could cause shock, low blood sugar, and loss of consciousness. Current food standards agencies said under 5s should avoid the drinks, and under 11s should have no more than 1. Did you have slushies when you were younger? Do you ever feel like you're too old?
I did, but we kind of made them at home a lot. Now these slushies that are in like the gas stations, maybe I'm just getting older, but they too sweet for me. I've tried them a few times and it's just been like, oh, bro, that's just, it give that face. Man, it give that face. It's too sweet to me. But I've often lately been concerned about the machine they use. I never see them clean that machine out. Have y'all ever seen them? Now, I've seen when in there and the slushy machine not work because it's doing like some type of but I don't know if it's self-cleaning. But I've never, ever seen them clean it. That's what lately has been scaring me about them things. But yeah, I don't mess with them. I don't mess with them. Y'all might need to look into them. Now that we know what they're putting in a lot of our food and drinks now, this is definitely an area we need to pay attention to see. Hearing that is put in it, I might not have another slushie again unless I make it.
Josh Ribe's distraught family say he wouldn't hurt a fly after he was questioned over Sudiksha Kanunki's disappearance. The high school wrestler's neighbor told DailyMail.com she bets her life Josh did not hurt that girl, despite being the last person to see the spring breaker alive. Ribe was named a person of interest by Virginia officials this week, but investigators in the Dominican Republic believe Sudiksha drowned and are not treating Ribe as a suspect. Josh Ribe's distraught family say he wouldn't.
See, that was the dude I was looking at that had his arm around her and when she was stumbling, but I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're still struggling trying to figure out this whole situation, bro. Prayers to her family, her parents, and everything like that that's dealing with this. And each day, it's like the first 48. And each day after that, it gets harder and harder to try to figure this thing out, man. Hopefully they can find some more cameras somewhere or something to get this case solved.
Okay, let's say mermaids are real. They are so deep in the ocean, nobody can get to them. They can only get to us. That's how stealth and how fast they are as swimmers, right? That's how profound they are as swimmers in general and the owners of water. And we've only covered a very singular percentage of water on our earth. Then you mix in the conspiracy that the water in the oceans and seas are so deep that if you really physically went down deep enough, you would touch space. Then that would mean the mermaids are aliens. Yeah, there it is. Mermaids, aliens. There you go. Now we know how the aliens look. They look like mermaids. Now, did Splash give us a very cutesy version of mermaids? Yes. And if you don't know what the movie Splash is, continue scrolling, all right? Grown-ups are talking. So no, that's not how mermaids, officially look. Yeah, they're half humanoid and half fish. But it ain't as pretty as you think it is, right? But there you have it. There it is. Conspiracy fulfilled, solved, or whatever you want to. Deep ocean, space, mermaids are aliens. Got it. Clock it. Okay, let's.
I guess I'm not an adult because I was shaking my head because I was thinking in my mind, we have Disney to blame. I was blaming Disney for the fact that we think they look just beautiful. We think mermaids just, when we see one, it's just going to be the most mesmerizing, beautiful thing we've ever seen. No. Are they more than likely going to look like aliens? That's what I think. That's exactly what I think about with mermaids. So, and it took me a while to get to that point because of the Disney films that have it ingrained that they just look like this supermodel or you know what I mean? This Miss America or something like that. That's what they have you thinking. So once you grow up and realize, they're probably gonna look like aliens. Some type of alien hybrid species is what we're gonna see. That, I believe that.
If I win, you are 3 days away from the best jobs, the biggest paychecks, the brightest economic future that the world has ever seen.
Financial markets today roiled by Donald Trump and the chaos he has unleashed on the American economy.
You want to see a market crash? If we lost this election, I think the market would go down the tubes.
It is day 50 of the second Trump administration. And as we begin week number 8, the markets. The stock market is in absolute free fall.
We're going to have a crash, and we're going to have a crash like a 1929 crash if she gets in.
Both the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ dropped to their lowest levels since September as investors.
Now, what you're witnessing right here is both are lying. Trump saying that we won't have a crash, which is crazy when he said he doesn't really pay attention to the stock market, and them saying we are in a crash when we're not in a crash. So this goes to show you with politics and people who speak about it, that they both lied to you. This is a perfect example right here in front of you. You're hearing it. They're showing the clips, but at the same time, they're exaggerating too. Because if you go and look and see how far we haven't even taken last year's lows yet. We haven't even, I think when I checked today, we're nearing September's lows. So, but hey.
Investors are gripped by new recession fears.
So I'll deliver the biggest economic boom in American history. It's going to be the biggest.
The Dow Jones not having a good day on this Tuesday, down 1.6%.
My plan will rapidly defeat inflation, quickly bring down prices, and reignite explosive economic growth.
A sudden announcement of new tariffs against Canada is delivering another shock to the markets. The Dow down nearly 400 points today.
If I win, you are 3 days away.
You heard the guy say down 1%, and everybody's running around. Don't get me wrong, it's bloody. It's bloody, but corrections are good sometimes, and that's what I think we're in now. Don't get me wrong, some companies are beaten bad, and we've talked about that already, Tesla. But some companies are just correcting so far. Now, if they continue to bleed down, then yes, that'll be bad for those companies. But right now, it's bad. But these are also opportunities, you could say, too, as well, if you're buying shares. Let me say that. If you're playing options, then don't jump in front of a falling knife. But if you're buying shares and you're slowly buying shares to hold several years, then cool. This is just opportunity for you. Hopefully you're picking a good company that you know will recover, like your staple companies, your Apples, your Google, all of that type of stuff. But yeah, again, like we said with politics and stuff like this, man, you're choosing the best liar. They all lie.
14 past the hour, now to breaking news in President Trump's trade war with America's top trading partners. Just moments ago, Canada announced it is imposing retaliatory tariffs on $21 billion worth of U.S. goods. Canadian leaders had this message for the American people.
Canada is not the one driving up the cost of your groceries or of your gasoline or any of your construction. Canada is not the one putting your jobs at risk. Canada is not the one that is ultimately starting this war. President Trump's tariffs against you are causing that. And there are no winners in a trade war.
This comes hours after President Trump's 25% tariff on all steel and aluminum imports into the U.S. took effect. Also new today, the European Union announced its own retaliatory tariffs on $28 billion worth of U.S. goods. These new tariffs will take effect at the beginning of April.
NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez is joining us from Canada, and our senior business correspondent Christine Roman's here in New York with me. Gabe, key meetings on both sides of the border as this trade war escalates. New threats from President Trump. Where do things stand, and what are we expecting today?
Hi there, Anna. Good morning. Well, yes, this G7 foreign ministers meeting is just getting underway today. We just had that family photo, as they call it, here with foreign ministers, Secretary of State Marco Rubio arriving and already meeting first thing with Canada's foreign minister as well. Certainly very awkward situation here with all this, all these tariff threats looming over this foreign ministers meeting. So far, Secretary Rubio only mentioning, talking about Ukraine. And Russia's war there. And one of the top topics that will be discussed today will also be China and the Indo-Pacific. But really behind closed doors, what we expect is Canadian officials to really ramp up the pressure on the U.S. delegation about this tariff threat. You mentioned just this morning President Trump coming out and posting on social media calling the EU abusive for its retaliatory tariffs, and now threatening that 200% tariff on alcohol coming from overseas. This is something that is not letting down. And as you said, top Canadian officials will also head down to Washington later today to meet with.
He's trying to break Canada, bro. Because I don't think they can withstand this. Yeah, this is going to be tough. And one of the statements they just made on the previous video, they was like, nobody wins in a trade war. So they admittedly know this is going to be tough on them. And him going 200% on all wine, champagne, and alcohol products, this is about to get tough for them. Like, he is trying to break them, clearly.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. So far, we don't have any indication that the White House is backing down from any of this, even though we are hearing from two people familiar with the discussions that there has been some concern about the president's economic council that these tariffs might, that this economic pain might not be so short-lived. But for now, the president does believe that longer term, this will help the U.S. attract manufacturing jobs back to the country. But again, this G7 foreign ministers meeting now underway. Secretary of State Marco Rubio getting an earful from top Canadian and European officials here.
See, now that's something you hate to hear. In the beginning, it was short term, short term. Now you hear words like, you know what? It might not be so short term. It might not be that. Might be a little longer than we've expected. But we just need y'all to hold on. That's how we've heard this type of, matter of fact, we've heard this our whole life. Stuff like this. That's how we're able to identify. This ain't going to be no short-term thing. This is going to be a long, egos are involved. And if you don't think these countries and these politicians have egos, you clearly out your mind. Their egos are involved. Oh, you doing what? Then we going to do this. Knowing good and well we shouldn't be doing this or trying to go back at them and us go at them. We shouldn't be doing this. But we're here. And now their egos, we are going to suffer. So now we're hearing from short term to long term now, possibly a little longer.
Gabe, we know you need to get into the meeting so you can continue to report it out. Thank you so much for joining us. Keep us posted. Okay, Christine, let's talk about these new threats on wine and liquor from the European Union. That can't be popular.
No, not popular. But look, let's step back. This started with steel and aluminum. The president put tariffs on steel and aluminum. The EU then turned around and put tariffs on motorcycles and ag goods and beef and whiskey and boats. And now the president is saying, OK, I see you and I raise you a 200% tariff on all of the alcohol coming out of France and out of the EU. So he is escalating here to make the point, I think, that he is in a position to do that and that this is what he is trying to do. He is trying to put up these trade taxes to keep investment, to keep jobs in the U.S. It's really interesting to me. you talk about what he's trying to do here. It could take years to do what he's trying to do. In the very near term, though, quite disruptive for prices and for supply chains.
So years, you're saying, could be the timeline here, not necessarily a short-term pain that we've been hearing from the president and his advisors.
It took 30 or 40 years to get to where we are here. This is all anxiety over NAFTA and trade deals of the 90s that, in hindsight, looked like they gutted out the American manufacturing job.
Plus, they love to play word semantics. Your short term may be different than my short term, depending on my life and my circumstances. So I could say short term to you and mean a year, 6 months to a year. You could say short term to me based upon your life and what you're going through or what you're dealing with is a year, 2 years. It's the whole word semantics thing. They leave it gray like that so they can come back and say, well, we never said it was going to be this. We just said short term. Short term to us means this.
And returning those American manufacturing jobs, I mean, it took 30 years to lose them. How long will it take to bring that back if that is really what he has the fortitude to do here? So it's a long-term process.
The market's not liking these latest moves this morning, down again. I feel like it's Groundhog Day. We've been saying this every single day. They don't like uncertainty. Businesses don't like uncertainty. Everyday people don't like uncertainty. But the president continues to defend these trade war moves, all the back and forth. Listen.
There's been a lot of on and off, some inconsistency.
There's no inconsistency, only with NBC, which is one of the worst networks on television, by the way. Let me just tell you the inconsistency. I have the right to adjust. It's not called inconsistency, it's called flexibility. And I think you want me to be flexible, too.
Is flexibility going to be your ongoing view towards
Sure, I'll always have flexibility, but there will be very little flexibility once we start. April 2nd is going to be a very big day.
That was our Kelly O'Donnell asking questions there. Christine, is that message going to calm investors and entrepreneurs?
Well, one of the things that I hear from business leaders is they don't understand the strategy, even if you understand the end game of sort of reindustrializing the American Midwest and the American heartland. For example, going after Canada, they don't understand why Canada is put in the same kind of footing as Mexico in terms of the drug trade. They also talk about, what is the point here? Is the point to stop drugs? Is the point to bring production back to the U.S.? Is the point to punish other countries? So sometimes the rationale shifts, and that's causes business leaders to wonder, like, what is the strategy here?
There's a moving target.
Exactly. But the president, I think, is adamant about this. And those of us who've covered him for years in New York before he was presidential candidate or even talking about the presidency, he has talked about the American auto industry, that he prefers cars to be made in America, right? He likes things made in America. It's almost hearkening back to maybe the 1950s, before these big trade deals changed the face of American manufacturing and that globalization was the end result. And you've heard Scott Bessent, his Treasury Secretary, saying the American dream is not being able to buy cheap stuff. I'm paraphrasing, and he'll be speaking here in a moment with our colleague Sarah Eisen. But the chasing cheap stuff is sort of what got us here, and they want good jobs. And the president thinks this is the strategy to try to restore that.
Okay, Christine Romans, thank you so much for helping us make sense, or trying to make sense of it all. And joining us now is MSNBC political analyst, former Republican governor of Ohio, John Kasich, and former advisor to the Clinton, Biden, and Harris campaigns, Adrian Elrod, who also served in the Biden administration. So, Governor, the president, we just heard him say that everything will be answered April 2nd, presumably talking about more, quote unquote, reciprocal tariffs. But we still see these dates, these deadlines. They've already shifted so many times. Should Wall Street, automakers, other industries trust him? At what point does this become a case of the boy who cried wolf?
Well, look, here's what drives the economy, Anna, is consumer confidence and consumer buying. And what's happening in so many different ways are people are cutting back. I mean, you're beginning to see it. They're not going to many restaurants. There was an article today about what the CEO of Walmart's had to say. Even the people who are selling the more expensive goods are seeing sort of a pullback. I talked to a person yesterday, a hedge fund guy, who told me that he's beginning to see consumer confidence ebb. Now, if that happens, then you have a problem. And what you have here is the willy-nilly of where it's chaos. It's chaotic, you know. Chaos has never. You might remember the television show called Get Smart. I mean, I'm really dating myself, but chaos was the enemy in that show. And there's just too much chaos now. And so people are getting jumpy. And when they get jumpy, they don't want to go out and aggressively spend. And if all of a sudden consumer confidence wanes, as it appears to be doing now, then you're going to have an economy that's going to slow down. And what everybody's concerned about, of course, is are we headed into a recession? Now, we've had
I think that's how they're gauging it anyway. They're gauging it based on our consumer. Okay, we've done this. Are people still spending? People still buying? Okay, it's still, the numbers are still reflecting. So, okay, we can keep going a little more. We got a little more wiggle room. Okay, we add some more tariffs. How is it going? What's the economy looking like? People still buying? Okay, that gives me a little more wiggle room to keep going. It's not going to be until we say, all right, that's it. I can't afford to go out there. I need to eat at home. I need to buy groceries, eat at home. I don't need to go out, celebration night, date night, do any type of things, go buy stuff, nothing but the essentials. And they see those numbers change to when I think they'll start to let off. But then they're going to have to do something else to get us back outside to spending. And I think that's when you'll start seeing stimulus and all kind of stuff possibly come out. Just my guess.
A couple years, 2.5 years of steady growth, Anna, steady growth. And now, you know, you're beginning, is this just a cool-off period? But a lot of it driven by the consumer here in the United States. And this chaos is dampening their enthusiasm for taking risks.
Adrian, take a listen to the Commerce Secretary a short time ago weighing in on all this before today's meeting with Canadians.
The president was totally annoyed that the Europeans did this, and so you're going to hear back from someone who emotionally cares about America. He cares about America, and he wants to take care of Americans. And why are Europeans picking on Kentucky bourbon
Secretary
or
Lutnick,
Harley-Davidson motorcycles?
Are you saying this is an emotional response?
Adrian, what's your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, Anna, you know, Trump's economic team, even amid the chaos of some of the other nominees that he put forward to work in his administration, his economic team was widely acknowledged as a team that had a lot of experience, that was going to help sort of temper Trump on some of these, you know, potentially on some of these tariffs that he wanted to impose. And we are not seeing that happen. You just saw an interview with Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, who was basically saying, you know, Trump is trying to help Americans. This is what he's trying to do. He's trying to help the economy. No, he's not. A couple of things. Governor Kasich just said, you know, we've had 2 years of a strong economy. Yes, inflation costs have been high. They have been going down under the last few months of President Biden's term. Trump inherited a really good economy. All he had to let happen was the infrastructure bill be implemented, the Chips and Science Act, which I worked on the implementation of the Department of Commerce, some of these major economic policies that would have brought these manufacturing jobs back to the United States. He just had to sit back and let those jobs come into play, and he could have taken the credit for it. It would have been wrong for him to do that, but knowing Trump, that's what he would have done. Instead, he is causing chaos, and as a result, we are seeing prices go up. We're seeing the checkbooks and retirement accounts of Americans suffer for just the fact that he wants to seek retribution on his political enemies, some of his global enemies, perceived global enemies, I should say, including some of our top allies like Canada and like the EU. So it's just a way for Trump to, again, sow chaos and discord. We are seeing in polling that his economic numbers are underwater. You know, Anna, he is in the goodwill time of being president. He's in the first 2 months of his presidency. It's very rare that you see his president's economic numbers where they are. But Trump, this is all self-imposed on his part.